Welcome to all the parents. We are on episode 22 and welcome back. We are going to discuss something that I'm sure is going to interest everybody today, because my question is, what do your children know that you don't? We just had a very interesting discussion between Isla Reddin and myself, Marelise Culbert. Isla just came back from a conference and she was telling me about the evidence proving how big the disconnect is between what parents think is going on and what children are saying is going on. So, Isla, please jump into it, because I think all the parents are going to be very surprised to see how big that gap actually is.
Yes, thank you, Marelise. Always good to be together. Yes, so to our wonderful audience, I was at an education conference that takes place every year in Austin, Texas, called South by Southwest EDU. And it's a 4-day event with multiple tracks of sessions for teachers, community, administrators, higher ed, K-12. And it's a very big event attended by thousands of people. So from the perspective of going to an education conference and figuring out what's going on, as I was saying to Marelise, you only need to go to one. And this one is it, because within these 4 days, you really get a perspective of education, not just in the United States, although it's held here, but it's international, because they have speakers and an audience that's attending from literally all over the world. So what Marelise is referring to, this, what do your children know that you don't? And what I want to share with you today is one of the speakers that I found so interesting, and her research so validating in terms of the work that both Marelise and I are doing with parents and with kids. And for all of your reference, the book, if you can see it, is it coming up upside down or straight?
No, it's perfect.
The Disengaged Teen. And the authors are Jenny Anderson and Rebecca Winthrop. And it was Rebecca Winthrop that I met after the presentation. And what they were talking about is the importance of engagement as the tool for connecting our kids with ourselves, with our communities, with their outside environment, with the education system, with learning. And this idea of engagement, that we're really not seeing or working with the value of that, and how when kids are engaged, they're interested, they're willing to learn, they're eager to know more, they become the drivers, really, of their own learning. But in this idea of they have to be engaged, and especially teenagers, by the time they become teenagers, they're generally absolutely bored to death at school. And here's the gap that we were talking about. So kids before 3rd grade are very enthusiastic about school. They're very enthusiastic learners. They're constant why and exploration, and they really are unstoppable in terms of their enthusiasm for learning and knowing more. But all the data tells us that from 3rd grade, it just goes downhill, and rapidly, until they get to 12th grade. So from like 8 years old to 18, it's just a slide to absolutely nowhere, right?
Slippery slope, as they say.
Yes. Yeah. But the disconnect is what students are saying about their own experience and what parents are saying. So I'm going to ask you, Marelise, if you can see my graph
Yes,
here.
I can. Yes.
Yeah. So the
Mhm.
thick line is what parents think is going on at school and the engagement level. And the lighter line is students. So what is in fact happening, and just this particular little data point, and obviously this is a book, this is at least 3 years of research with 65,000 students and parents around the world. So there's a tremendous wealth of information in here, a lot of data that is helping inform how we're helping students, how our education system's working, how our communities are working, and what we can do to improve our improve the mental health, the well-being of our kids. But in this gap, I've lost track of what was I saying? Why did I go there? Help me.
The disengagement between what the children's feedback is and what the parents think is going on. Yeah.
Thank you. So what they found is that parents, although they are aware that their kids are not necessarily happy going to school, they do not realize at all just how severe the gap is and the level of disengagement is and how much it is damaging the kids. The amount of stress, the amount of anxiety, the sense of failure, the lack of ability to take risks, all of these aspects of this very, very diminished engagement that the kids are experiencing is causing a big part of our mental health crisis. But the difference between what kids are experiencing and parents think they're experiencing is so big that we're not, as parents, we're not connecting into any of these problems. So the invitation for today is start, if you haven't already, to ask questions. We talk about open-ended questions. Ask, and what is the experience of this? What did you learn today in science? Or what was the most important or interesting thing that you learned, that you focus on the engagement to promote and support your child to become more engaged in things, because this gap is so damaging and we're not even aware of it. So we're not doing the work that we can do as parents to really, really help our kids. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Marelise, for your thoughts on the subject.
What immediately comes to mind, Isla, and thank you very much. Something that I had to learn, because that was not necessarily demonstrated to me, is not just about asking, well, you have to do it, but you can go a step further. Ask about the day, ask about what stood out about the day, ask those open-ended questions. But then as you hear the response, be really curious and ask, why do you say that? Or why are you seeing it in that way? Or what is it about it that is frustrating? I'm seeing you frustrated. What is it about that thing that frustrates you so much? Or, wow, when you talk about this, you light up. There's something in there that you are really loving. Tell me more about that. And I think that is where our curiosity about the experiences need to really shine through. Because what I hear a lot of parents saying is, oh yes, well, it looks like you are doing really well at math. Well, I was also a math genius at school, so I totally get that. And unwittingly, the parent is putting pressure on that child to say, well, I was really good at it, so you should be too. Or if the child is not good at something or doesn't enjoy something, to say, oh yes, I also hated that subject. Oh, it's horrible. That's not going to motivate anybody, and that's not going to help your child to come through this thing successfully in the foreseeable future. So from my side, the more I took time to be really curious about what the child was saying, good or bad, it really helped me to understand more. And that's something that I saw a lot of parents around me not do, because I would listen to something that their children were saying to me, and then in another conversation, I'd hear what the parents were saying is going on at school. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't think these two are talking to each other. So really, it's something that I think we need to be mindful of. Maybe just stop for a moment and think about that, because there's always more to learn. I just want to encourage you, there's always more to learn. There's always more going on than you think. So yeah, we need to be open to that without the judgment and strictly just the curiosity. That would be my best advice. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think what I came away from this particular session with, just because of the amount of research that they've done, is that we really need to pay attention, that our assumption as parents that things are okay, without asking the question, without really spending the time to validate, is us sort of being a bit in denial and burying our heads in the sand there, because we do have a responsibility to really dive a little bit deeper and figure out what exactly is going on, because our kids are not going to tell us. They don't, again, but let's go back to their ability, the brain's ability to even frame some of this. They can tell us that they're not okay. They can tell us that they've got a stomach ache. They can tell us that they're bored. But we have to be the guides in the front of their brains that are helping them articulate what exactly is it that's going on. We have to help them find the words, help them to be able to identify how they're feeling, what's working and what's not working, so we can help them. And the fact that they don't have that vocabulary yet, and they don't even have the ability to do that level of organizational thinking yet, doesn't mean that everything's okay. It just means that they don't yet have the ability to tell us, or they're afraid to tell us. So we do have to dig deeper, and we have. And it's again, as you said, no judgment, just the evidence is the kids are not okay. Ask the questions.
With love and compassion and grace. Yeah, just be a guide.
Yeah, just be a guide. Yeah.
Okay,
well, by the time we have next week, I will hopefully have at least got to the end of this book and started one of the others that I bought this past week, because it was a there were some very, very interesting speakers, and I will share what else stood out to me that I learned.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much, Isla. It's wonderful to have these touch points with what's really happening in the world, how we're experiencing it, the things that we're seeing, and the solutions that are available. So if you have any experiences that you'd like to share or ask about, or your child has done something weird and you're not quite sure what to do about it, please reach out to us. Our details are below, and it would be wonderful to hear from you, because you are not alone ever.
This, we're our work that we've spent years learning and honing is to be able to help and support. And that's based on our own experience and our own training. So we're here for you.
Yes, always. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marelise.
Bye.